So in 2003, I don't even know how to say it, but my life changed in a matter of a couple of seconds, right? I went from somebody who had never gotten in trouble before to getting sentenced to 144 years. Nobody lost their life. Nobody was even physically harmed. But I was lost. I didn't know the legal system. My family, they didn't know it either. We didn't have the resources. We didn't have the ability to get the right type of attorney. Well, it happens every day. And that's why we're here now. We're here to tell the stories, the truths about what goes on behind those prison walls and those courtrooms, the fights that y'all don't see, that y'all don't know, things we've had to endure, things we've had to overcome, and the harsh reality of what we'll call the injustice system. Welcome to our world. Hear our stories. Hear our truths. Welcome to the voices.
Peace to the planet Earth, man. And as always, thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for spending your time out of your busy, hectic schedule. Because trust me, my schedule has been extremely busy. And life be lifing. Nonetheless, I think it's important to always shout out everybody that does take the time, because it's more than just people getting up here and speaking. We're putting information out. And the positive, I guess, takeaway from a lot of the interactions and messages that we're getting from people is that they're taking the information and they're utilizing it. So we're always encouraged by that. The Life Unit continues to be just a platform that wants to focus on connecting people with different organizations, advocates, resources, etc. Just to highlight specific people, because a lot of times we don't know who's out there. We don't know the information. But there's plenty of places, not just like the Life Unit or, all over the internet. Shout out to Humanization Project, another great project. Shout out to 40 Strong, all the organizations up here. Today, our guest is actually from that organization. I'm excited. She's got a degree in criminology, so she can speak to specific points in a way that I can't. So I'm always excited to have people of education up here. But more specifically, she's somebody that's passionate about what she does. Sometimes what I've seen is sometimes people just go to college or get a degree just to get it. But she's got a story. She's got a reason, behind the way that she moves. And we're also going to be speaking about education and reentry, things that I'm passionate about as well. So without further ado, let me bring our guest up here so we can get into this conversation. And welcome to everybody that's hopping up here as well. How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm glad it's Friday. I can sleep late tomorrow, even though I won't sleep late. I'll be up early, but it's the thought.
Away from the grind for a little bit.
Right. What time is it where you're at?
So I am in Sydney, Australia. It is 11:07 a.m. on Saturday morning.
Okay. It's like being it's like a matrix. Like, okay. I just got my passport. I'm excited. So I'll learn about flying to different time zones and being out the country and all that. I didn't even think about asking you that. But thank you for hopping up here Saturday over there. So that's what's up. If you can you just introduce yourself, or I kind of spoke to a couple things, but just who you are, your organization, those types of things. And also, I like to always ask the advocates and our different guests, how did you get into this field?
Sure. So obviously, I'm Australian. I am here in Australia. Around 10 years ago, my uncle actually did 6 years here in a New South Wales prison. When he came out, I saw them push him out the door and were like, off you go, have a nice life, don't come back. And he had family support. And I thought to myself, what if he didn't? What if he didn't? And what would have happened to him? So amongst COVID, I started a degree in criminology. So I major in crim. I have just graduated, which is super exciting. Through that time, my readings have been heavily based around the world. So Australia is quite a new country. A lot of the research and updates in legislation comes from places like Europe and the US. So through my special interest, I was led towards mass and hyper incarceration, and obviously total incapacitation as well. Started reading works by the likes of Angela Davis, PhD professors all over the US, with really important things to say. And obviously, a lot of my essays have been around, times from even the Reagan government, war on crime, war on drugs, what that looks like sociologically, why we have what we have. I think it's very easy for people to say, well, bad people are in prison. And it's like, well, why are these people doing this in the first place? And that's what I like to look at, behavioral choices based on our environments. So when I was going through that, I really wanted to speak to somebody that was directly on the ground with regards to experiencing what it was like in prison. And I actually reached out to an inmate on a pen pal website, and his name is Tobias. He is in Virginia. So at the beginning of 2020, I reached out to him. And he is now my beautiful loved one. He works in there. He advocates for his peers. He has a beautiful, kind-hearted soul. And he was able to really provide me with an insight that is particular to somebody that has lived, breathed, and experienced what's going on in Virginia right now. I then reached out to Free at 40 strong because I wanted to do more. And obviously I was limited from Australia. I'm remote. I have to do everything mostly remotely. And it started with just sending off newsletters to our members. At that time, we had about 600 members. We are now up to 1,300 and growing. So
this is 40 strong?
40 strong, right.
Can I stop?
Sure.
Can you please tell people, if anybody's not, I see you guys all over the place. You guys post on my page, which I'm always grateful for. I'm always encouraging everybody. Good information. One thing I love about the 40 strong is, for me, that sets you guys apart is you guys. I see motivational, like, keep going, y'all. Hey, it's quiet, but hey, we get, and the information is good, but for those of us that are in the fight, it gets tiring. And when I see those posts, I think they were in blue and white recently. I don't know. And I see them, they were hitting at the right time. I was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, let's go. Let's do some more research. We got some stuff going down here in Georgia that's crazy. But that's how I see 40 strong. I know you guys are doing a lot of but you guys motivate, and I don't even know if people think about that. You motivating a lot of other advocates, organizations. But please tell people what the 40 strong is, you guys' mission and purpose, etc.
Right. So originally, 40 Strong was started by Free, incarcerated individual who saw that there was a gap in what people that were behind the walls were able to access and be informed on. I think the DOC very much like to keep them in a cocoon and keep them undereducated with regards to what's going on out here. So he saw a gap. He enlisted people outside to ensure that people could start being informed. They started with 40 of them. And so what I was saying, we're now sitting up near 1,400. And that list is growing every day. So what that looks like for us is we send out bi-weekly and monthly newsletters that will have all of the updates with regards to especially what's going on with legislation, General Assembly, any movements in parole. We also run social fathers training. We do mentor programs, especially in our women's prisons, because our women often get forgotten about. And we also do advocacy, which is the space that I'm really passionate about. And we are going and branching into education and reentry as well.
I got 1,000 questions, and I'm trying to keep them in order because for a lot of organizations, they ask themselves often, how can we grow? How can we get more people to believe in to go from 40 to 1,300? To me, somebody like me, I'm studious. I'm paying attention to things like that. So
Yeah.
I want to speak to how you do things objectively, how you know attack a goal, because you got to be strategic. And one thing you spoke about that I agree before we hopped on here, I get it. Our loved ones, they're locked up. They shouldn't be, or they shouldn't be there. And as long, whatever, the emotions are high. But I need y'all to hear this part, because sometimes if that first step is wrong, it could cause more damage. It could cause more work that needs to be done. But how important is it to take the emotion out when you're trying to get a loved one, or trying to cause change, or whatever it is, and be strategic?
I can't stress it enough. And I guess this is where the importance of people like us, Humanization Project, Virginia Justice Alliance, come in, because whilst we care, we know that these people are humans. We're not emotionally involved, which allows us to break it right down into the facts. So I'll give you a bit of a background as to what I do when I'm engaging with someone that wants my advocacy. I will ask them for dates. I will ask them for paperwork. I will ask them who they spoke to, what time they spoke to them. And those are things often we don't think about as a loved one out here that has to hear the tears, that has to hear the anger, that has to deal with the phone restrictions, the visit restrictions, the lockdowns. We can send out emails often and shoot from the hip. And we will call names and we will place blame. And the reality is that the DOC don't answer. It doesn't, and it burns bridges. And so when we go and we're asking for somebody to look at something for our loved ones, ensuring that we keep it completely fact-based. As much as it's horrible, the DOC don't see them as humans. So we need to throw their own policies and procedures in their face and keep it completely objective. And it's hard. It's not easy. It's not easy.
For sure. I'm jumping around. This is my ADHD, right?
Sure.
Because you spoke about when your uncle came home, how you got into advocacy, and maybe we'll get back to the strategic. But I remember when I first got locked up in Commonwealth of Virginia for the longest, and they changed things for the better, and for what that's worth. But back then, they gave you $25 and a bus ticket. You didn't even have to have a reentry plan. Like, you didn't have to have an address. And I can only imagine, I don't know what they were, I never researched it, what the recidivism numbers were back then, because a lot of guys were doing 10, 15 years, the whole world changed, no family, like you said, come home, 20, or not even home, whatever, $25, they're back on the same corner that they got locked up. Or, even that fast forward, when I came home, they upped it in Virginia. You come home with $1,000, your ID. If you don't have support, I thank God for my wife, the people, my mother, my family, you know what I'm saying? But talk about reentry and the issues that, from your perspective, because I've talked about it enough, but please speak to the reentry thing and let people know where the holes are at and why, in my words, it's a scam. It's because I lived it, but that's a whole other.
Absolutely. I agree with you, and I haven't lived it. I just finished a major essay on mass incarceration, and I think it's really important to know that 75% of offenders re-offend in the first year. And I think that's really, really important to note. I think a lot of people aren't aware of that. And that recidivism keeps going up until 3 years. Now, when we look at somebody that has been in an environment, a community, prison is not a hotel. It's a community. They build relationships, they build social cues, and they are oppressed and governed by people that are generally not very nice to them. We know that in Virginia, people are over-sentenced. So you haven't got people in there doing 6 months that can come out and easily re-enter. I've been speaking to men and women that come home after 10, 15, 20 years, right? And they come home and they're told to get a job and they're told to land on their feet, and they know nothing. They don't know how to speak to people. They don't know how to get a bank account. They don't know how to get a driver's license. I've got men that go in at 17 and come home child-minded through no fault of their own. To give you a bit of background, Tobias actually comes home in 12 months, God willing, and he has been asking. So we've been through, he just came down from the mountain, thank God, but he was at the mountain for 8 of his years. And I had to fight tooth and nail with the DOC to get him into a re-entry program at level 2.
Okay.
They said to him, you know, these things don't just happen. And I was like, you know what? You've known for 10 years that this man is going to come home on this date. Okay.
Can I say something really quick? What I learned about DOC, especially when I did 16 years, 11 months, and for the first 14 years, whatever it was, they told me I could never go to anything lower than a level 2. And I was on an institution. I had the inmate advisor job. I was beating guys' charges. And then next thing you know, they sent me to a level 1. And then I was on a road camp. But DOC can do it. I just wanted to say that. I'd stop your thought. But DOC can do what they want to do. They weaponize transfers. Yes. They do things strategically. But anyways, I digress.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to mention as well, I actually we were looking at rolling out, we work with an organization in Maine called College Guild, who provides non-accredited courses for free to incarcerated individuals via correspondence. And I remember speaking with a woman in her 60s, incarcerated in Virginia, who cried and thanked me because she was afraid that because she had such an extensive sentence that the Virginia DOC were declining her programs because they didn't see a benefit in investing money in her because she was never going home. And she was afraid that dementia was going to take her.
Yep. Yeah. They have, it is funny as we're talking, you're just, different thoughts are coming along my journey. I remember being on Sussex 2. Level 4, and one of the requirements to get off was you needed a trade. You needed to be in school or whatever, but they wouldn't let you get a trade if you had 20 years or more on your sentence. You weren't priority. So it was like you were in a matrix. It's funny because a lot of these issues are across the board in different ways, and that's why I'm glad we have these different stories come about. The education piece, like, how did that develop? Why did you guys see the need? I mean, I know why there's a need. I was in college and they just killed the program one day, you know, and took it from us out the blue. But can you speak to why it's important, the educational aspect? You kind of did. But as far as getting people college or different things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you said, you know, I've spoken with my loved one and many loved ones who have been incarcerated for 10 years and not done their GED. They've been enrolled in GED classes, but why is it taking 10 years, right? They say things like, you know, we need a certain amount of people to be able to test, but they never reach that certain amount of people. So education in terms of re-entry. Okay. So coming out here with a love for learning, coming out here with real world skills. They are so sheltered that they don't even know what Uber and DoorDash are, right? So how do you expect someone to come out into this world as it is now in 2024 and be able to function in a workplace that looks nothing like it did when they were at home?
Or even fill out an application.
Right? Nothing. Okay. And then also mental health, right? So we have extensive amounts of violence. We have extensive amounts of aggravation within the prison system. You've got COs sitting there complaining about how dangerous it is and they need to lock down. These people need things to do. They need things to keep their minds busy. They need to be invigorated. And if that doesn't look like educational programs from the DOC, this is what we're trying to do through 40 Strong. We're trying to initiate study groups. We're trying to initiate inmate-led study groups. That's not only building social skills from people talking to each other and being able to share ideas and think critically, but also to be able to gain knowledge, right? And so then we move on to something like Second Look. Okay, so Second Look is something that is being seen in the House right now. And what they want to see is progress towards bettering oneself. Now, the DOC is saying if you've got over 20 years left, we're not going to give you a program, but these are the exact people that are going to qualify.
Yeah.
So what do you show? What do you show if you haven't been given the opportunity? So this is where we want to come from. There is people screaming for education. Tell me how, when you take a main income earner from a family, that family is then able to facilitate financially a college course for this person in prison. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's education for anybody that hasn't dealt with the system when it comes to education. To get into GD class, there's a waiting list, and typically it goes by the amount of time you have left. But here's the crazy part: if you've got not enough time, you can't get on the list at all, right? And sometimes that happens. A guy comes from the jail, he goes to the system, he's only got 3 months. They won't put him in class. And then, to what Kirsten was saying, if you've got 20 years or a certain amount of time, they won't even put you on the list, but it could be one of your requirements for you getting good time or coming home. It's a catch-22. You mentioned mental health, and I don't want to keep sounding redundant, but we know there's a bunch of issues within Department of Corrections. Mental health is another thing. A lot of the mental health issues, I feel, come from, like you said, it's lack of development. I was blessed with opportunities to have jobs working with counselors. I was always able to communicate with my loved ones on the phone. I worked in staff dining. I was running my mouth all day. I was talking to people that were leaving, but so many of my brothers and people that I know, you're only influenced, and this is it. Concrete, steel, angry COs that don't communicate, they grunt at you, they bark orders, they tell you stand on the line, be quiet, etc. This is what causes the mental health. So when I see things like 40 Strong, like you said, trying to bring in these programs, it's needed. And there should be no resistance. This is the thing. If DOC says we want better, we want to rehabilitate, we see gaps. Obviously, we see a fentanyl crisis. Right now in DOC, we see prisons closing down, shifts, and we need something different. How did 40 Strong start? Come to the conclusion they're like, you know what, we're going to create our own type program. We're going to go after our own resources to bring them in, or try to get them into the Department of Correction, or bring them in there.
Obviously, we know there's a gap, right? We have staffing issues. They keep flaunting staffing issues. And through our partnership with College Guild, we've seen them be able to access grants in places like Maine and New York. So the first step for us would be doing some pilots, and that's what we're going to be rolling out this month. We're going to be asking for volunteers of those mentor study leaders on a couple of courses, and run that as our test subject. From there, we then go to the DOC with a package and say, look what we've done without your help. Imagine what we can do with it. And we engage delegates, and we engage decision makers, and we ask for money to do so. I get hundreds of emails a day from people just going, hey, I just want to learn. I just want to know new things. I just want to be challenged. And you're so right. The people that I speak to even forget to say please and thank you, Chris, right? Yeah. They forget to say please and thank you. And these are the basic social and coping skills. It's not just education. It's not just maths and creative writing and literature. It's not. It is critical thinking. It is working the brain, right?
Emotional intelligence.
Yes.
It's all of these things. We're, to your point, when you're in that environment you're conditioned. Over time, you're conditioned. You're putting on the same colored clothes every day. You're eating the same meals on the same days every week. You're having the same conversations with the same people. What is going to develop in that situation unless organizations like 40 Strong bring their program, their opportunities in? That's my question for anybody that might be thinking on the other side. We got 1,000 comments, y'all. I'm sorry, I've just been clicking away. Humanization Project said that some have been locked up since being a teenager, that they are lacking in life skills. This is a wonderful aid. True indeed. It's needed. And there should be, like I said, there should be no resistance, because it's aid. It's assistance for the people. Melissa Eberling, exactly. So many want to help and just need a guidance and structure. I agree. It's great. We're already down to 5 minutes. There's so much. I feel like I can sit here. I feel like I went to a lecture just now because I'm learning. I'm downloading so many, and then it's making me want to ask all these questions. I didn't ask this. Here's my ADHD.
Sure.
From 40 to 1300. How long did that take?
Okay, so we had an issue. 40, I came in at 700. So I couldn't tell you when we were at 40, but 700 we were at the beginning of the year. So we've doubled in 2 months.
Oh yeah, you guys form a political. No, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, yeah, just like, hey, just start doing. But there's something organizations need to just pay attention. I'm down here in Georgia now. I have a lot of Virginia ties. I'm always shouting out Virginia just because I see a lot of organizations coming together. But man, when I hear that, it's encouraging. It's encouraging. That's all I can say when I think of that. I wanted to ask you this, Free, the founder, because we didn't really we heard his name, but I want to know. You know what I'm saying? Can you tell us anything? What can we know about Free, the founder of 40 Strong, in case anybody's wondering?
So Free was incarcerated in Virginia for a substantial amount of time. Formed significant bonds in there with some really great men and women, and he doesn't stop. He literally doesn't stop. Like, I work hard from here, but that man is constantly on the go and would give the shirt off his back for anybody. And I think, similar to you, Chris, I think a lot of people walk out of there and want to leave it behind because it is hard. It is tough. You don't want to go back. You don't want to take yourself back. But he hasn't forgotten.
Right.
You know, he hasn't forgotten. And I think it's a testament to his strength and to his ability to go, I fought those that tried to bring me down, and I am going to make change. And I am blessed to be working with someone like Free. It's making me emotional.
That's what's up.
You know, it is the kind of knowledge and experience that I just couldn't get from anyone else. And like you said, the motivation, right? It is not just the fight in him. It is him acknowledging when we're tired and extending a hand and going, hey, I've got you today.
It's kindness.
I've got 90% for you today, right?
Yeah.
And he would do that for anybody. And I think it's easy to get discouraged and it's easy to get tired because we are fighting. And this is a thankless job often. Advocacy is not something that is paid. It's not something that is often talked about. It's something that we do behind the scenes. You know, an email can take me hours to write to the DOC, you know, for a 1-sentence reply. And he is always, you know, checking in. Hey, have you eaten today? Have you slept? How's your sleep? You know, so he is, you know, he's a wonderful person.
I just hear kind. To all my leaders out there, you know, you can have influence and have a voice and be intelligent, but are you kind? I think kind people are the ones that cause tears, not to put, you know. But I went. Me and the wife, we went and seen One Love. I cried 14 times, 15. I don't know. I'm crying the whole movie. Everywhere. I'm looking at her. We're married. She didn't see me cry. I'm trying to hide it. But there's certain people, they have an impact on this place called Earth, man. So salute to Free, because I get a feeling he's definitely one of those people. And I mean, I see it. I see his works being manifested in different ways without even crossing paths with him, you know, physically. People are shouting you out all over the comments. They want you to run for president. Something else. Somebody said passionate about not only his freedom, but the freedom of those who deserve the chance of freedom. That's what's up. That's what's up. And true indeed. Salute to Free. 30 minutes went fast. It's crazy. I feel like there was no structure. Most of my interviews, I've got like a plotted course, though it's not, but it was like so much information. I was like, I gotta ask this. So I'm not going to put you on the spot, but hopefully you will come back. to do a part 2, and hopefully I cannot ask random sporadic questions. But I love to maybe speak more directly about, again, like being strategic with the advocacy and maybe how to grow an organization, or because it takes work, so maybe if you got time for that in the future. Somebody literally just said Kirsten for president. There you go. There you go. We got an election coming up. So but outside of that, generally, this is the time where I always ask our guests just anything that's on your mind, your heart. It doesn't even have to be advocacy, organization related. It could be light. It could be whatever you want the world to know or you feel you need them to know. This is your time, because we definitely appreciate you. I can speak for everybody as they're still firing off comments 1,000 miles a second. No, yeah. Oh, hold on. I want to read this one. Somebody said, a Warrior Within Us project and the Unity Alliance would like to see the 40 Strong Method agency in every state. Thank you for all your work making major impact for our people. Okay, now you can speak.
So
Your 5. Yeah, because people they're going crazy in the comments. Somebody else said for president. Somebody, VP. We're gonna run together. Okay, all right.
We'll take on the world. Look, it is. I always encourage people to jump over, visit us on Facebook, 40 Strong. Please don't ever be afraid to reach out to myself, to Free, to the group. If you need help, don't think that you have to do this alone. There are 1,000 people that have walked this path before you. And like you were saying, yes, there's a bunch of different organizations within Virginia, but the amount of times I reach out to, Virginia Justice Alliance, Humanization Project, and be like, hey, have you walked this path with someone before? Can you help me? And so we're all working together at the end of the day. All I can say is, as someone with a loved one that's incarcerated, it is heavy. It is heavy. And I think it's really important to understand that there is no shame in asking for help, and that's why we're here. You don't have to walk this path alone. We are all in this together. We understand what they're going through. We understand that this is a difficult situation. We do not want the DOC and the facilities in Virginia to be a summer camp, but we want humans to be given human rights, right? And that the basic human rights that the UN meet every year to discuss and spend thousands and millions of dollars on ensuring that people are getting. So look, it's just about reaching out if you need it. Don't be afraid to reach out if you need it. That's why we're here. And I appreciate all the beautiful comments. I've been watching them as well. I am very blessed to have been involved with so many beautiful loved ones and also those inside. And I thank my opportunities every day. Some of the best people I know are incarcerated in Virginia, and I will say that with my whole chest every day of the week. But I wanted to thank you as well, Chris. I really appreciate you giving me the platform to come on here and speak with you, share with you, and share with others as well. I tune in every time you go live, and hearing different perspectives and giving voice to people, like we say, are voiceless. It seems like it's not much in the grand scheme of things, but every single voice, if we put them all together, we're one big movement. So
thank you. I definitely appreciate everything that you guys do. I'm Team 40 Strong all the way, guys. Please, like she said, the door. Hey, knock on the door, send an email, visit 40 Strong, Facebook. I will post. I guess you can message me the email. I'll post the email or contact information on our page or whatnot. But you can definitely find them on Facebook at the 40 Strong. Thank you to everybody that's a part of your organization. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for the small things. I gotta tell everybody on the platform, because often we don't get told that enough, and it's tiring, like you said, but appreciate you. And I just learned a lot, and I always appreciate people that I can learn from. I really do. Really quick, guys, I'm just going to say this before I close it. We said it, me and her got to say it before we hopped on. And it was based off a conversation I had with a gentleman this morning that said people don't deserve second chances. And the conversation went a little left and right, not in that way, but I said at the end of the day, man, it's not a prisoner's rights thing. Because he said, man, it doesn't matter if they live or die in there. This is what this guy said to me, 6:30 this morning. It doesn't matter. I said, wow. I said, that's the issue. He said, they're just prisoners. I said, no, they're humans. They're still humans. I said, that's the issue. It's not a prisoner's rights thing. It's a human right thing. So for anybody, man, please remember that. Maybe that'll shift your perspective, remotivate you. I don't know. Maybe you can bring that piece of perspection. I don't know, perspective to the conversation. It's not a prisoner's rights thing. It's a human right. These are still people. To the videos that we post, to the stories that we talk about. These are, as Kirsten said before we hopped on, or maybe in the beginning, these are brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. There was a gentleman that I showed. He had a tattoo put into his forehead after he was beat. He had to get sent to the hospital. There's families we get calls from. I know, I'm not saying these guys are innocent, but everybody deserves to be safe. Everybody deserves to be fed. Everybody deserves to have medical, and that's it. That's it, man. Not to make it too heavy. There's 7,000 more comments coming in. I can't hit on the comments tonight, and it's still coming. But again, thank you, Kirsten. I'll be in touch shortly. If we can do anything to support, help out, please let us know at the Life Unit. And that's it. Salute to you on your Saturday morning. And yeah.
Thanks so much. Have a good weekend.
You too.